the vintage market, round 1, round 2 cards, even today comparing to 12 months ago, has definitely seen an increase, as Zac pointed out as well. So, I mean, as I said, there's no more of those round 1 and 2 cards going to be ever available. So what's out there now is what,
that pool
what is out
small,
there.
dude. The pool is small.
So definitely can agree on that. All right, we'll go over, check over the comments, see who's in here. Got a few people in here now. Matty Mac with his coffee. I also have mine too, Matty. So
what's up, dude?
Good morning, mate.
Down under.
We have Flailing Octopus. Hey guys, great content. What are your thoughts on? You like that one, do you, Zac? Like the Flailing Octopus?
That's a very descriptive name.
It actually is. Hey guys, great content. What are your thoughts on round 1 and 2 cards of Hall of Fame fighters being so cheap? Meanwhile, new releases of fighters not even close to the Hall of Fame, going for significantly more. Thanks. Yeah, Octopus. We talk about this a lot, don't we, Zac?
Oh yeah, this has been a huge topic for ever since we started collecting.
Yeah, and I mean, do we want to do you want to talk about this now, or what do you think?
We could save this. Up to you, man.
Say this?
Up to you. It's your show. You let me know.
Man, I think this is just an interesting conversation piece in general. I don't think there's too much like research that we would have to do in order to give our opinions on this.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, we've talked about this a lot over our time, but on both of our channels, and also obviously, you know, anytime Zac and I get together, it almost becomes a talking point. But round 1 and 2, man, people just, I don't know. I just sort of still fail to believe that people know that those cards exist and are not choosing to have them a part of their collection, just because I think if they did, then we wouldn't have such a pricing gap. And then I'm not even talking about like your Hall of Fame fighters. I'm talking about even your fighters that sort of, if you weren't watching the sport at the time, like I was watching the sport around 2009, but there's still plenty of fighters that are in that set who I actually had never heard of. And I think even those cards are underpriced. I mean, we are talking about the first ever licensed UFC card release ever. So I think regardless of the card, regardless of the parallel, I think those should be the most collectible cards that we have. But obviously it makes sense. I myself came into UFC cards 2022 only throughout my channel and deciding to make content. Obviously I did maybe more research than what the average collector does, and that's how I was able to learn about these older sets and sort of look at them and then understand them and appreciate them from a history point of view. But as I said, I think it's just a fact of UFC cards growing each and every single day, new people coming in, and what takes their eye are the new modern day products. That's what gets put in front of them. That's obviously what they gravitate to, which makes sense. But I think at some point, as a collector, as part of your journey, you know, you do get curious about older products. You do start thinking that maybe the older stuff is like more scarce. As I said, it all depends on what the collector mindset that you have in terms of what you appreciate as a collector. I myself can only speak for myself in terms of I appreciate scarcity and rarity. So therefore, when we are talking about these original products, of course, they're going to have lower print runs. Of course, there's going to be less available. And then even when you want to talk about condition of what as well, because UFC cards, when they first come out, only had a handful. Like UFC cards now are nowhere near what other sports cards are. Sports cards are very niche in itself, but UFC cards even nicher than that. And when you're talking about when these cards did first come out, can't imagine there was too many people buying up the cards. So a lot of these ones just got thrown to the wayside and unappreciated. So that's where it leads to better conditions of these cards if you're picking them up now ungraded raw. But yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's just a factor of what's relevant, and what's relevant today are the fighters who are fighting today, but also the products that's coming out today. And I think from my point of view, I think a lot of people who have gotten into UFC cards, you know, this year, last year, they're still not educated about previous products for Topps UFC, for example. What were your thoughts, Zac?
Yeah, I mean, I know he mentioned like value and cheap. So if we're talking about like card pricing, before I go into why I think this is, I think it is a fact now. The round one stuff and the round two stuff is finally going for much, much more. I've had my eye on a GSP first auto, had my eye on Anderson Silva first auto. Those were like low $1,000 cards, like 11, 1200. Now they're going for, 19 to 2200. So like things are starting to pick up in that space. I think people are starting to realize that these cards are extremely rare, that they are extremely valuable, extremely collectible from some of the Hall of Fame fighters in the sport. But yeah, when you were talking about relevancy, I think that is the main driver of why people tend to look towards the newer items and towards the newer products and the newer cards and rookies that sell for crazy amounts, right? Comparatively to Hall of Fame guys, comparatively to even GOATs in the conversation. It is pretty insane when you look at like a person that is unproven. Sometimes they're not even ranked, Damian. They are not even in the top 15 rankings, and their rookie cards are vastly outselling Hall of Fame guys, GOAT guys, when you're talking about first autos, when you're talking about true rookies. And it's always been very perplexing. But I do think, just conversations like this, I also think Chicken opening those boxes on Whatnot and kind of showing people how cool they are and just kind of putting that into the world. I think that's really helped the vintage pricing, and a healthy vintage market and healthy vintage prices do nothing but boost everything else. I think it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. Same sentiment. Obviously, we share the same sentiment. And we have, sorry, was not meant to get rid of that comment just there. But yeah, thanks, Flailing Octopus. Hopefully, let us know. Does that obviously give, we like, that's our thoughts in terms of, we do believe, like, I can speak, I think Zac as well, and he mentioned it as well, like, it is slowly now gaining traction. Like, the vintage market, round one, round two cards, even today comparing to 12 months ago, has definitely seen an increase, as Zac pointed out as well. So I mean, as I said, there's no more of those round one and two cards going to be ever available. So what's out there now is what
pool
is
is
out there.
small, dude. The pool is small.
So yeah, I think supply and demand, as we seem to mention a lot about as well, the demand's only going to grow higher and the supply is only going to grow thinner. So I think that puts those vintage UFC cards in the right direction. But thank you very much for the question. That was a fun talking point.
Yeah, and specifically with the round one and round twos, like I know personally, when I buy one of those cards, especially the round one, I am not getting rid of that. And I think a ton of other collectors have that exact same mindset. So like when these get pulled off the market, dude, I think the price is going to have to get pretty high for a lot of people to have to put them back out there. So like you were saying, supply and demand, when people are holding close to their chest, that's going to do nothing but raise the prices for the ones that do pop up eventually.